Dead On with Randy Ulmer.
You know, a question I get fairly often from bow hunters that fletch their own arrows is, what pattern should I use? Should I use straight fletching? Should I use offset fletching? Or should I use helical fletching? And before we answer that question, it's important to realize what the purpose of the fletching is. And that is to create drag on the back of the arrow for stability, and also to create spin. The purpose of spinning an arrow is to average out any imperfections in mass, or for that matter, any geometrical imperfections in what an aeronautical engineer will call the assembled flight body, and we'll just call it the arrow. The balancing act for fletching is between stabilization and drag. And the more vanes you use, or the larger the vanes you use, or even feathers for that matter, will all give an arrow more stability. But if you get carried away, you have a very stable arrow, but you also have lots of drag. So the arrow is going to slow down too much as it's flying. There are basically two kinds of clamps that you can use for fletching. There's a straight clamp and a helical clamp. You can use the straight clamp to fletch what we call straight, which is right down the center of the arrow, or offset. And with offset, you can go either to the left or to the right. And when someone talks about offset fletching, they usually mean fletching that's put on the arrow with a straight clamp, but the clamp's put on the jig so that the fletching will end up sitting on the shaft diagonally, either to the left or to the right. A helical clamp is designed to curve the fletching around the shaft. Right helical and left helical clamps are different, and they aren't interchangeable. Helical clamps are usually used in an offset position, so offset is implied when you're using the term helical. And helical fletching is really popular for a couple things: indoor target archery and for stabilizing fixed blade broadheads. Long-range target archers tend to use a slight offset applied with a straight jig. Now, my goal with my hunting arrows is to get them spinning as quickly as possible. That helps prevent the broadhead from gaining any purchase on the air, so I use as much offset as I can get on the shaft. And I actually use a helical fletching jig, although on my short fletching you can't see hardly any helical. Before you start fletching, you have to decide what fletching pattern is going to work best for you. Just remember that accuracy and stability always take precedent over speed.